What's up, smart homers? My name's Aaron. In this video, I want to show you what I think is the new best video doorbell, and that's the Reolink Wi-Fi video doorbell. I'm going to walk you through all of its features, and I'll also show you how to integrate it with Home Assistant. Full disclosure, Reolink did send me this product, but they didn't tell me anything I should say about it, and it's going to be an honest review. This doorbell has a sleek black design, with the camera at the top end and an LED ring around the push button at the bottom. It has a 5 megapixel 2K camera with a 2560 by 1920 resolution. It records at 20 frames per second, has a 134 degree horizontal field of view, and has a 97 degree vertical field of view. It has IR night vision, but doesn't have a spotlight, so there won't be any color night vision. It has a microphone and speakers for two-way audio, and it has human detection as well as motion detection. Apparently it also has pet detection, but I don't have a pet, so I can't test that out. It also supports RTSP, OnVIF, and it also works with Reolink NVRs, which is super cool. It has a micro SD card slot for a maximum storage of 256 gigabytes. It also comes with a chime unit that can be installed in a wall outlet, and the chime allows you to adjust the volume between 0 and 117 decibels. There are actually two different versions of this doorbell, the PoE, Power over Ethernet, and the Wi-Fi version, but we're only going to cover the Wi-Fi version in this video. For the PoE version, it gets its power and data through an Ethernet cable, which means you need to have Ethernet cable run to the spot where your doorbell is. And the Wi-Fi version gets power from either your existing 12 to 24 volts AC doorbell transformer or from a power supply that's provided. The Wi-Fi version works on 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz networks. Installing this doorbell is pretty straightforward. They give you a mounting plate to which the doorbell can be clipped and a single angle wedge that can be used with the mounting plate to set the doorbell on a slight angle. First, I mounted the plate to my door frame with the provided screws. You'd put the wedge behind the plate if you were using that, but I'm not going to use it. Once it was mounted, I prepped the existing wires by adding the jumpers using the provided wire nuts. Before connecting it to your existing doorbell wires, you need to connect it to the power supply that's provided for setup. There are two screw terminals on the back where the power supply's connectors can be attached. It's not a bad idea to install your SD card at this point if you're going to use one. I picked up a 250 gigabyte SD card on Amazon, and I'll leave a link to it in the description because so far it's been working great. Once connected, you're going to walk through the setup in the app, which involves scanning the QR code that's on the back of the doorbell. This is why you can't have the doorbell fully installed before you set it up. After scanning the QR code on the back of the doorbell, you're then going to use the doorbell's camera to scan a generated QR code on your phone.
Connection to the router succeeded. Welcome to Reolink.
Once the setup process was complete, I unplugged the power supply and disconnected it from the screw terminals, and then connected the terminals to my existing doorbell wiring. It's a good idea to check to see if your existing doorbell wiring is supplying 12 to 24 volts AC. To get it to fit properly, I tucked the wire nuts up near the Ethernet port in the cavity on the back of the doorbell, and then I clipped the doorbell onto the plate. If you ever want to remove the doorbell, you can use the little pin tool that's provided and press on the bottom side of the doorbell, and it's going to pop the doorbell off. The only thing left to do at this point was to add a jumper into the existing chimes box to bypass your regular doorbell chime if you're using the existing wiring. Once the doorbell is fully installed, you can take the auxiliary chime and plug it into a wall outlet. This chime is required if you want something to ring because this doorbell does not actuate your mechanical chime. This chime has options to change the volume as well as the chime sound. In my opinion, the app is pretty cool, and if you've used Reolink cameras already, then this is going to be super easy to use. The upper right corner of the camera feed shows some icons that indicate what is being detected. It records a 6-second pre-roll and a 15-second post-roll when any event is detected. If you have an SD card installed, then clips of any of these events are going to be recorded and stored to that SD card, but I'll show you those settings later on. The doorbell features two-way voice, so you can speak to the person at the door.
Yo, what's going on? Please step away from the door.
There's also an alarm button that will trigger an audio alarm, I guess to scare away sketchy people. There are also options to take a camera image or a video clip using the buttons under the feed. When push notifications are on, You can be notified when the doorbell button is pressed or when an event is detected. Unfortunately, when these notifications come in, there's no preview image, so you can't tell, oh, is there a person or what kind of event was detected. And when you tap the notification, it just takes you right to the live feed, and there's no option to take you to the clip that was recorded of that event. Since the person or thing that triggered the event may be gone already, or you didn't have time to see the notification until later on, but you want to see what actually happened, then going to the live view is going to be useless, and you'd think there'd be some option to go to the clip that was recorded. Okay, now let me run through a few of the settings so you can see some of the different options that are available with this doorbell. At the top, you can see how much storage space you have left. Note that I have a 256 gigabyte SD card in there, and that's the max for this doorbell. I'll leave a link to the one I bought in the description. If you tap display, you'll see some options for flipping the feed, adjusting the quality, flicker, and day and night modes. You can also change brightness to help make the camera suit the location. The next section has some options for overlays on the feed. I left the name and date, but I turned off the watermark as it kind of just gets in the way. In the audio settings, you can toggle recording audio, but I think it's a good idea to leave it on, but that's just me. There may come a time when you wish you had that audio. You can also create voice messages that you can play to people who ring the doorbell, and even set up auto reply when you're not home.
Hi, please leave the package at the door. We'll get it later.
Gonna give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no-good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead.
There are some chime options listed, but when you open them, it just gives you instructions on how to manually adjust the chime settings using the buttons on the physical chime. In the light options, you have the ability to control the status LED ring as well as the infrared lights. The status LED will automatically come on when there's a detection, but also can be set to stay on at night. The infrared lights can either come on automatically or stay off if, for example, you have a light that comes on at night, and so there's no need for those infrared lights. Next, we have detection alarm settings, which allow you to set a detection zone, adjust the detection sensitivity, and even set the object size that should be detected. Creating a zone is really cool because you can literally just paint where you want to ignore the motion, and it works really well. I also like setting object size because I don't want this thing recording every bug that flies in front of the camera. After changing the settings to what you see here, I did still have some false detection, just a bug, but I'm not super worried about that, and I can always dial in the settings further later on. Next, we have camera recording, which allows you to turn recording on or off, set a schedule, control the post-motion record duration, and choose whether recording should be overwritten. Having this option is one of the reasons why I don't mind having bugs detected, because I have a large storage size and then it's just going to overwrite, and that's no big deal. After that, there's notification settings, but I turned everything off except for push notifications, which I turned on, but only have it set for person and vehicle detection. With these settings the way they are, I'm only going to get notified when there's a person at the door, but it's going to record any kind of motion that it sees. It's kind of acting like a security camera, but also a doorbell. There's an option for sharing the camera, which I didn't test, and also a time-lapse option, which allows you to record hour to day-long time lapses. The installation method option is not something you have to worry about at all, and the advanced option allows you to manage different users for the doorbell, account lockouts, date and time settings, and also an option to reboot the device. As I mentioned, the push notifications are okay, just telling you that an event was detected, but when you tap it, it takes you to the live view, not the recorded clip. To see the clip, you need to tap the playback button, which allows you to scroll through a 24-hour timeline. You can change the day at the top and then scroll through those 24 hours. The blue marks on the timeline show where recordings were taken throughout the day. The clip previews show you what type of motion was detected for that clip. If you don't like the timeline view, you can change to a gallery view and even filter the clips by detection type, which is super handy. At the top of the playback screen, you can also change the playback speed, download the video clip or part of it, and change the channel to a different camera in the app. That's pretty much it for the app, so let's go ahead and take a look at it in Home Assistant. Setup for Reolink devices is now a breeze because there's a native integration in Home Assistant for Reolink. This means that the doorbell is automatically discovered by Home Assistant, and it's super easy to configure and get running. The beauty of this integration is that its IoT class is local push, which is the best IoT class, and it means that all communication is local and doesn't require communication with a cloud server. Nice. On the device page in Home Assistant, you have controls for almost every setting that I've just gone over in the app, which is super cool, and it's much more fully featured than the Amcrest AD410, which I covered in a previous video. I won't go over every single one, but you have sensors for doorbell press, motion detection, person detection, you have the camera stream, and tons of configuration options as I've mentioned. You can even check the update status of the device, which is super cool, and I think you can even update it in Home Assistant. One weird thing I did run into was a warning from Home Assistant saying that the doorbell needed an update. However, there was no option to update it in Home Assistant, and while there was a new version of the firmware on the Reolink website, I wasn't able to actually update it since the app said it was up to date. It's weird, but it functions completely fine in Home Assistant, so I'm not sure what the warning is really about. Honestly, I think this device now replaces my long-standing favorite doorbell, the Amcrest AD410. I covered that one in a previous video, and although it is also locally controlled and has a lot of really cool features, the Reolink device is so much more fully featured. The fact that it works so similarly to a Reolink security camera is great, and the fully featured Home Assistant integration makes this one easily pull into first place. From what I've seen, this doorbell is better even than the Aqara doorbell that just came out, and the price is hard to beat. If there's one thing though that I'd change with this doorbell, it's the notifications. The fact that there's no preview image to show you what kind of motion or who was detected is kind of a bummer, and it's something I think they could easily fix to make it a lot better. The other thing is that there's an SD card stored in the doorbell, which can be ripped right off your door frame with enough force. While this is also a problem for other doorbells like the Amcrest AD410, I still think that there's gotta be a better way to store this data locally. That would be where using a Reolink NVR would come in, allowing you to store that data directly onto the NVR rather than the SD card. Also, the fact that this camera supports RTSP means you can stream this video to wherever you want. Anyway, if you're interested in buying this doorbell, I left an affiliate link in the description, which allows me to make a little commission at no cost to you. Also, I'm going to be doing more reviews like this, as well as WLED and other Home Assistant videos, so if you're interested, hit the subscribe button. Anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.